How on earth do you figure out what is the right way to resolve a problem when the internet is flooded with advice and people around you make it a point to share unsolicited advice, which is inconsistent? The answer is that it depends on the type of problem and the relative intensity of it. Every problem should not be solved in the same way. And I say this because I have myself fallen into the trap of using complicated methods as a remedy to problem solve, when in fact all I needed was a simple tweak in mindset. Please comment below if any of you have also fallen into this trap. I think the reason we sometimes go for complexity is that we are trying to prove a point to ourselves that, look, I can do this, or yes, I have achieved this, which at a deeper level is a means of seeking approval. I'll tell you 3 short stories and what I understood to be the best and easiest way to arrive at some level of resolution to the problems. The first story is about an emotional outburst at a salesperson. I remember I had just come back from England and I was more interested in traveling in India than directly getting back into the job market. So I decided to plan a trip across several cities in South India with a few of my family members, and we were in the city called Munnar at a shop which is very famous for herbs, natural oils, spices, and we got a bunch of stuff. And when we were at the billing counter, the salesperson was impolite because we removed some of the stuff because it was inflating our budget limit. I told him off for being impolite and for spoiling our shopping experience. Obviously, he wasn't the main reason for my heated reaction, but a trigger from my past life event. In such situations, the other person is less important because they don't have that much impact on your life. So your emotion, although heated, is at a surface level. I have found over time that it is easiest to course correct your own action and do what you can of your own ability to maintain peace. I would call it pivoting or redirection to a more favorable thought and action. The reason this is easy in this situation is that you don't have a relationship with the other person, so you can't really assert yourself on them. You have to decide to act differently. The second story is about a fight with a loved one. It is not humanly possible to love and have close relationships with family and friends and never have differences. If everything has always been perfectly smooth, are you really even involved in that relationship, or are you walking on eggshells? I have fought with family and friends, and it is fixable, but sometimes the length of the fix may vary because both people are emotionally involved, but not everyone wants resolution at the same timeline. Sometimes people need more time to reflect, and impatience can widen the rift. What I find easier to do in such situations is to talk to 1 or 2 very trusted people who can offer a different viewpoint on how to resolve the problem. Even if one person genuinely has the intention to resolve the conflict, it can be difficult to vocalize your feelings to the other. But you can send them loving thoughts often. And it can magically and organically happen that you unexpectedly get a call from them. And you manage to have a conversation, a heart-to-heart conversation, and you feel really light after that. But it may not always happen. And you have to accept and give space to the other person, because you can't force a resolution if the other party is not open to it. And if it takes more time to resolve, usually the relationship gets recalibrated and newer boundaries need to be established, which is how nature wants it to be, and you can't fight that. You can still keep that person in your thoughts and prayers if you're not willing to settle for anything less. Magic can happen anytime. The third story is about heartbreak or separation. This is not an easy one to resolve because there has been a significant energy exchange And with any individual with whom you are involved at a level that shatters your foundation, you cannot overcome or resolve your feelings by pivoting to a better thought or action, or course correcting at a surface level, or even seeking well-intentioned advice from a friend or family member. You need to dig deeper, else the pattern will repeat itself in cycles. Also, interestingly, heartbreaks are not always the result of a pattern in your love life. So it isn't some cosmic playback. It goes back to an emotion that you may have experienced in your childhood that traumatized you. And I'm assuming that most of you would not have had a full-on romantic relationship between the ages of 0 and 7. So please don't beat yourself about the reason for it and get into self-criticism. Some very powerful techniques that do give you insight into the action you need to take in this situation are found in practices like inner child healing, journaling without filters and with relentless honesty, hypnotherapy, some very specific meditations that help you to alleviate pain, and also visualizations where there is one version who is a much more evolved version of you, giving advice to your current version who is facing turmoil. Usually people get into these healing modalities when they feel enough is enough. And these are very powerful methods, but they require a lot of emotional capacity because you really need to feel your feelings. Generally, whichever of the three situations you're in, it is okay to feel your feelings, whether it's guilt or any other emotion, and move through the emotional scale at your own pace. You can feel hurt, hopeless, angry, apologetic, shameful, neutral, empathetic, compassionate, but jumping to forgiveness and compassion right away is quite unhealthy, I feel. You should do what is easiest in the moment. And I'm by no means suggesting that you go to the dark side and get into substance abuse. I prefer to accept my emotions and admit to how I feel, rather than feeling guilty about not feeling positive. Every emotion has a purpose. We shouldn't waste it by judging it. What do you think? Which emotions are you trying to run away from right now? Will you give it some attention? It would really help my channel if you can like this video, comment your honest thoughts, and please subscribe to it. Thank you very much for watching till the end. Have a lovely day.